students, hospices that came up during the medieval period, the khankas, the life outside the khankas. We discussed all these topics in the previous lecture. We discussed that how these khankas, these monuments, these buildings, they were center of attraction for many people, and a simple life of austerity. Austerity means keep only those things with you which are very, very necessary for your life, and give up the luxuries, give up the worldly life. Austerity was preached. So, we were discussing about the life in the khankas, the silsilas. Now we will proceed the topic further. We also talked about the languages yesterday, that Hindavi was the language, that was the language of the common people, and this was the language that was used by the writers, by the poets of that time, to preach people in a simple language about their ideas, about their teachings. Correct? So now we proceed our chapter with the topic of certain incidents that will tell you that although kings and the rich people, they gave a number of grants, they gave a number of other valuable or the things of the everyday life to these people who were living in the khankas, who were living in the different monuments, as charity, which was called inam, because it was a medieval period Persian Hindavi it was going on, so it was known as inam. It was given to them, and the people in the hospices, they never kept all these things for themselves, like particularly like food, water, clothes. It was very frequently given to them, but they never kept it for themselves. Immediately when they received it, they immediately distributed it among the people who deserved it. So it was a very good system going on. We also discussed yesterday in a very short time. We discussed about the places where the death of the sheikhs took place, or the awliyas. The important sheikhs were also called the awliyas. There a tomb was made, and near the tomb, mostly the coming rulers, the Tughlakas, the medieval Sultan, the rulers of the Delhi Sultanate, they built their forts near these tombs. Why? So that they could be close to them, they could be associated with them, because these awliyas, these chiefs, sheikhs, they were becoming very, very popular in India at that time. And one thing you must have noticed, that they were not only favored or supported by the Muslim community, they were also supported by the non-Muslims. We discussed it in detail in yesterday's lecture. So even non-Muslims, they were also supporting these. But remember that particularly in the Deccan, particularly in the Deccan part of India, people were not supporting the Muslim rulers. And I also told you that at that time, Muslim rulers considered themselves as the rulers of the people, and they wanted more and more people that they should be connected with them. So near the tomb, they began to build their forts, so that there could be a close relation with the people, even with the non-Muslims. We get through an example of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti of the 14th century, popularly known as the Garib Nawaz, or in English you can call him the comforter of the poor, who was giving comforts to the poor. He became very popular. Kings were, I told you, they were supporting them, they were giving them all the charity. But sometime we get the notice, we get the reference that there was clash between the sheikhs or the awliyas and the Muslim rulers and the kings. Clash was on the question of importance, because the sheikhs, the awliyas, the gurus, that is these people, they were getting lots of attention from the people. Like they used to touch their feet, or they used to kiss their feet, they used to bow before them. So kings, many of the kings, they had another feeling for that, because kings at that time, they wanted that we should be taken care, we should be given importance by the people. So people gave lots of importance to these sheikhs and masters and these awliyas because they were close to them, because they preached them austerity, and they also preached them about piety. Garib Nawaz, this Muhyiddin Chishti is very famous for its piety. That is a soft corner for all the people, particularly for the deserving, for the poor. And they also told them for the zikr and for the sama. That is reciting and chanting the verses, the poems written by the, composed by the people at that time, by the poets at that time. So zikr and sama, that was going on by them and people followed them. Then we get another reference of Baba Farid and his poems that are incorporated in our Guru Granth Sahib also, the compositions of Baba Farid, and even today they are very popular amongst us. So these people were becoming very popular among the people, and people had a liking for their preachings, people had a liking for their ideas. Then we also get reference, apart from the short poems that were chanted by the people, even by the people sitting at the roadside, they used to chant the poems, because I told you they were in a very simple language. Then we also get the reference of Masnavis. Masnavis were long poems, or they can be called as divine chords, C-H-O-R-E-S. Divine chords means collectively people used to have a chorus. Collectively people used to sing all these poems, long poems as well as short poems. Long poems were called Masnavis, your 1 mark question. Then we also get the compilation of Prem Akhyan, on which you must have watched the movie Padmavat, which is the story of Padmavati and the king Ratan Sen, the king of Chittor, Ratan or Ratan Sen. We get this story, and it is, even today it is remembered. Then at this time there were certain other types of writings that came up in the form of lullabies. That also came up in the form of lullabies. That is such a poem which is very soft and which is very soothing to our ears. There was lullabies, and also there were Dakhni poems. Your 1 mark question. All these questions are of 1 mark. You must learn all these 1 mark questions, 1 mark answers. Okay. So Dakhni were, you can say, short poems that were very commonly recited or sung by women while doing grinding, while weaving, while doing their household work, while working in the fields. They used to recite these poems. They were called Dakhni, and lullabies were the part of it. Dakhni poems. Then austerity, charitability, these were taught by the trusts that were set up at that time. Even the common people, they were asked to do charities and to follow the teachings of all these sheikhs, awliyas, the people from the Chishti community. They all belong to the same, that is the Sufi tradition. And I told you yesterday that these Sufis, these Sufi saints, Sufi tradition, they were inspired by the Bhakti tradition that was going on in India already. Previously it was going on. Then this was about the hospices, about the different monuments which have been given in your NCERT. All these monuments, they gradually they became the center of charity, and they supported mostly all the categories of people, and there was no place for caste, there was no place for rich and poor, and everyone, every human being was considered to be equal in their eyes. So equally they were given charity, equally they were taken care of by all these people. Now our next topic will be about some of the saints, some of the Sufi saints that became very popular, and even today we remember them, and even today they are popular amongst us. Even in the school textbooks they are taught to the children, because their teachings are to be remembered and they are not to be forgotten. One such figure is Kabir. We come to the next topic, Kabir. About Kabir, we have not much information about him. Why? Because it is said, it is assumed that he was born in a Hindu family, but he was brought up by the family of a weaver, that is Julaha. This weaver couple, they brought up Kabir, and this weaver family, they had just adopted Islam. So he was a foster son. They had just turned to be Islamic. They had adopted the religion Islam. And then he was brought up. Kabir is famous through 3 writings of him, which we read and from which we get the introduction of Kabir. That is Bijak, the first one, the literary work of his time. That is Bijak. Then Granthavali, second one is Granthavali, and the third one is Adi Granth. In all these we get the information about Kabir. Even then, the authentic information about Kabir we could not get. Apart from these, Kabir is also famous for writing Ulat Bandi, ups and down, means such verses which have dual meanings. And in his writing we get the words from different languages, from different categories, from different scripts. We get the words from his writings. This about the Ulat Band, because it is your 1 mark question, these are the verses which had dual meaning. Kabir, he spoke about Muslim community, he spoke about the Hindu community, he always opposed casteism, he always opposed the system of untouchability that was going on at that time, and he tried to propagate the message of this Nirgun Bhakti, that is God has no image, or God has no shape, no form, and Naam Simran. That is, we can only worship a particular power, a particular light power that guard all of us, all the human beings equally. Correct? Tomorrow we will dwell upon the topic, like we will dwell upon our other famous personalities remembered even today. Mirabai, Baba Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and his successors who propagated a new religion in India. And then we will also talk about the summary of the chapter, that what we have read, which literary work and which monuments we have gone through this chapter. So till then, it is a very good bye from me.